Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
Yo, what up? It's Doenut, and you tuning in to all your Illuminati news with Paranoid American. What is going on?
What is going on? Yo, did Chan just ride out of there?
Yeah, rider ride out, rider gotta get paid, rider rock, rider roll, back seat to 12 gauge. Yes, but he's always with us up here.
That's the almighty Chan. So, yo, what's going on, Doenut? Let people know. I mean, people probably know who you are and don't know who I am. So let me just say, hey, I'm Paranoid American. I'm the one on the left of your screen here. And the cool guy behind me here is Doenut to my right. So what up, Doenut?
What up, Paranoid American? Paranoid American, I mean, brings the most intense research. I mean, he don't play around. We're working on a Illuminati book together, and he don't play around. He's like, no, you got to get the facts straight and all this, and he really goes deep. And I love the work that you've done with just so many different topics, so deep. You're a gem to the conspiracy world.
Well, this isn't me though. This is about you and Donut and what Donut's got going on. And I just saw you just drop like a little VHS container. It's not a VHS cassette tape, right? It's like a little container that's got man, there it is.
Well, this is the old one. Yeah, I do these once a year where I drop VHS boxes, limited edition, and it comes with a bunch of goodies. Like if you get this new one, you get the secret invitation to the secret meeting, which hopefully Paranoid American will actually be at, because you got a box. So
I did get a buy. I had to grab one, man. I saw Donut riding the dolphin, and I knew that this was going to be a special one.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
So I wanna start this out and go. Let's uncover the layers of the onion that is Donut. The layers of the donut. I want to hear about Juggalo days, bro. I want to hear about the first time you even saw like an ICP or a Twisted, or I don't, was it ICP? Was that the gateway drug to the Juggalo?
Yeah. So I'm driving down the street with my mom, leaving Temple, because
you're driving, or you're like,
I wasn't driving. I was like
in the passenger side of your best mom's ride.
I was in middle school. No, I was in elementary school. I was in 5th grade summer, and The Amazing Juggalo Brothers was just released in 1999. And there's a lot of occult stuff in there, like Violent J says the F word 98 times. And I didn't know that. You taught me this, that 98 means aloha in the occult. And I was like, whoa.
93.
He says the F word 93 times.
Okay.
Oh, man, what a terrible juggalo I am. But also Fred Durst, who Shaggy 2 Dope drop kicked most recently, has a song where he says F 47 times. And that's an occult number too, with the compass is the 47
Yep,
degree
and the
compass.
47th proposition of Euclid, yeah.
We're going back to ancient wicked smart Pythagorean stuff, correct?
Yeah, so did you get sucked into the Juggalo culture because of its esoteric gematria?
Not at all. I got sucked in because I'm driving by the signing. Now, this is when they were on Bill O'Reilly and all this. It was the Juggalos that brought me in. It wasn't ICP. So a Juggalo is not ICP. The Juggalos itself created its own movement.
What's a Juggalo?
What is a Juggalo? It's someone who eats Monopoly and poops out Connect Four. So what I'm very, very Juggalo for life. And the thing was, I saw all these kids just partying, and I'm a young kid, so they were like adults to me, and they all had face paint on and looked like a bunch of warriors. And I borrowed the Great Malenko and the Jekyll Brothers, listened to it, was blown away, and that's what got me into it. But the Great Malenko was released by Disney. So it's very strange on June 28th, which is a Knights Templar Day, because of it's John the Baptist Day. June 24th, my bad, June 24th, not 28th. So I've been a big fan of ICP, and they are very occult-like with the Joker cards. Each one is dedicated to the butterfly. Now, me being a conspiracy theorist, I see the butterfly, I think of the Monarch butterfly and the MK Ultra Mind Control. And the more I dig into these symbols, I'm wondering, is there a connection to the Illuminati? Well, Shaggy 2 Dope just released a record called Illuminati Don't Want Me, but I think something is going on.
So the Illuminati wouldn't want a Juggalo, or they just don't want him in particular? Or is this like a reverse psychology?
So the Juggalo movement is a strange phenomenon, nothing new. Where there was Beatlemania, there was the Deadheads. The Deadhead logo of the dancing bear looks very similar to the Hatchet Man. I mean, identical. And then there was even the orchestra guy. I already forgot his name, but he smoked cigars, but girls went crazy for him. And there was a term for it. I wish
the orchestra guy.
Yeah, I gotta say
Yo-Yo Ming, Kenny G.
This is his name was, I got it right here. Dang it, I just got the picture of him.
I kind of like the name orchestra guy. It seems like you could just
this guy. It's that guy.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Wait a second. He's doing the hidden hand.
He is. I mean, what's he doing with that hand?
Well, you got Mozart, does the hidden hand or whatever, and I can't believe I forgot the guy's name.
They're all connected to the Illuminati, speaking of.
Dang it. Well, Beethoven definitely was, because his teacher was an Illuminati member.
You're going to have to save some of that cream for the pamphlet, though.
Yes. The pamphlet going to be off the hook.
So is there anything to fear from Juggalos? Because I remember as a kid, like I was a little bit older, so I wasn't like a child when it came out, but even as like a teen, I remember thinking like, if I saw like a gathering of Juggalos, not the event, but just like an actual, do they have a name first of all? Like, is there like a gaggle of Juggalos? Is there like a fun name for a group?
Yeah, the JRB, Juggalo Riders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I know you got like a gaggle of geese or like, anyways. So if you got like a big group of Juggalos, I don't know, it felt scary at a certain point, because it's like there's adults that are deciding to wear face paint out in public and not, give an F about it, and maybe even just like pounding Fago like there's no tomorrow. And I don't know, there's something intimidating about that. Is that just part of the initiation? Like you have to go through like that initial phase of like, it looks like these scary clowns, but then what? There's just full acceptance?
Well, you know what? There's civilization and its discontents. And the people in power, I believe, research and understand the ways that people think. They give us video games that are violent. They give us Miramax Films, which is owned by Disney. Not anymore, but it was, which gave us ICP, which is all about chopping up people. But within that, there's a mystical element, which led everybody to God at the very, very end. A lot of people get mad. A lot of people are happy about it. But I think what it is that they're tapping into the discontents that Freud talked about, where people want to be dirty. They don't want to shower. Juggalos, you don't have to shower, right? It's all about just whatever. I'm done. And it's totally a spiritual principle as well of letting go, letting God, acceptance. I'm just done. I'm done. What woo woo, So there's this element of spirituality within the whole philosophy of the Juggalo. Now,
is this nihilism?
I don't think so. Nihilism is. Explain nihilism to me.
Well, I guess not like the whoop whoop, I'm done. Like if I'm done, like I guess that seems in like a really reductive version of nihilism where like nothing matters, we all go into an open void, so what's the point of it all? Everything is pointless. I'm oversimplifying that aspect too, but you said there's like a spiritual element to it, which I guess wouldn't be nihilist exactly, but like what's the spiritual element of that?
Well, like with the nihilistic thing, like what Friedrich Nietzsche was kind of connecting from my understandings, and he got everything from Schopenhauer. But what Nietzsche was saying, what I read, what I understand, and I could be totally wrong, is that the religions people were in, they were all nihilists, and they could only get a little sense of serenity by letting go and letting God for that one moment where they bring up God and they're relaxed, like, oh, and I totally understand that. But is it nihilistic? I'm not sure. It could be. I haven't really dived deep onto that philosophy with that. But with the spiritual element, first, it's a belonging to a group. So you got these outcasts, and the scary masks and the face paint is to scare people away. Right. So you won't look into it. And then it's just like this little secret group. So the fear, but then once you go into the carnival, for example, you're like, oh, these are just a bunch of dudes cracking jokes the whole time, sort of. Right. But for myself, I can only speak for myself, but it's scary growing up. And the two killer clowns are like Chucky. So Chucky is the doll. And kids play with the dolls. So Chucky kids would like because the doll's going to kill all the parents, which is kind of sick to say, but it's like
you don't have to do your homework. You don't got to clean your room. There's all sorts of benefits to that.
So these clowns are going out doing that for you. And Violent J even says that in one of his songs, Simple and Blunt, which is one of the best songs, which isn't even like on a record, but he says how he let us do the killing for you. You'll be all right. Right. So it's sort of a cathartic experience for people who want to belong, the black sheep that don't have somewhere to belong. And then at the very end, they say that the carnival, this whole idea of it is actually God. So I don't know. You got juggalos for Jesus. That's at the gatherings. But most of it could be what you're saying, nihilistic. I just don't got that term and that study down enough to like really be confident behind what I'm saying.
There's a weird crossover between juggalos and hippies in certain ways where it's like, I want to stop showering. I want to stop adhering to like all these different cultural norms. But I guess instead of the hemp necklaces and like the tie-dye shirts, they just adorn clown makeup and, spiked bats or whatever. But like the hippies also felt like there wasn't something they were trying to scare you away from, although they had like the freak out thing, like, let's go freak them out, man, just like act kind of weird. So I guess there is that aspect of the juggalo. I don't know, I guess I'm just thinking out loud here because I had never compared those two groups together, and they seem more aggressive / violent, but I guess they really aren't. It's all just perception, right? Or is there legitimately like,
like they're pretty,
have you been in a rough juggalo situation where you were like, these juggalos are a little bit harder than I'm ready for? What were they doing?
Oh yeah, big time. Oh man, I mean, I've seen people get hit by so many different objects in any room you could find, from chairs. I've seen so much bloodshed because it was sort of like a ritual, though. Like the juggalos, kind of put themselves through like a gang ignition ritual. At least me growing up with my friends and what I've seen at the concerts, I've seen there's people getting jumped. But the thing is that the Juggalos and ICP, they go for anti-bigotry, anti-racist, anti-child predators, anti-establishment, all these wonderful concepts as well. So like there's this really cool element in it. But the hippie and the Juggalo, I emailed Psychopathic and I wanted to go to the last gathering, but I emailed them too late and they didn't have media pass for me. I've emailed them like every year though, but I always email them too late on.
They're missing out. They need to just get you on reserve for the next year.
I don't know what. And I told them straight up what I wanted to do. And see the symbolism in ICP, are they connected to the Illuminati? Violent J in his last song spoke about the Illuminati. Coolio spoke about the Illuminati. He was a Juggalo. He died this year. And Shaggy 2 Dope released a record called Illuminati Don't Want Me. So I was like, okay, I can open it up with that. You know, they're saying this. And then I wanted to bring up the Disney aspect and how Disney really backstabbed them in The Great Malenko, because Disney gets all the money from that record. And I also said, and I want to bring up the connection and similarities to the Grateful Dead and the Deadheads, which is like the hippies, and the Juggalos, because
it's another great one.
It is similar to the extent of wildness. Now, what would a government want with the Juggalos? This is very important and not weird to talk about, because Obama labeled Juggalos under the FBI a gang member. So my mom, we're gang members with the Bloods, Crips, Aryan stuff, all the big gangs. Latin Kings, I don't know them, but they got the list on the website. I'm labeled part of that because I listened to something in my headphones. So there is a government connection to, they find this kind of important. Then they did this march on Washington. Now this was during the whole Trump stuff, and I was very involved in geopolitics because I was working for AMTV. But at the same time, I'm editing videos with ICP in it. I was in Violent J's tour bus. So like, so I'm editing. And when I'm seeing this march happen, where they go to Washington, I'm seeing George Soros' infiltration of Antifa creeping into that. Now, if you study enough of these color revolutions that George Soros funds and whatnot, you can see there's some sketchy elements. I feel like the Juggalo phenomenon, the CIA, FBI has always been trying to get their hands on and into, but they never were successful at it. But I think now there might be something, because there's been a split, a divide and conquer in the Juggalo world, where Twisted and ICP split apart. It divided the Juggalo nation. And divide and conquer, baby. That's the best way. That's what's happening now.
Could there be an oncoming civil war for Juggalos soon?
It's already happened. I mean, people have been jumped, all that stuff. It's already gone. People going to the.
How do you show your colors between the Twisted and the ICP crew? Were there like certain things that you would wear? Yeah, so the ICP crew were called the 17ers to make fun of them. 17 is Q. Just throw that out there. And it's also the kill code. So there's so much symbology weird. Or you're with Twisted and Magic Ninja, whatnot. So not really. Not really. Was this a political divide? Because when you say 17ers, does that imply that like ICP was deeper into Q than Twisted, and Twisted was anti-Q? Not at all. Yeah. No, none of them are into that at all. They kept it very, very neutral, which is dope. Just like Guar, but Guar had a backlash because they cut off, each head of each politician, and they got big backlash for that. They stayed neutral. I mean, they're aliens from another planet that are just here to get rid of everybody, So it's like, come on, Guar. How you gonna get mad at Guar for doing that? Like Ragnarok, come on, man.
Ragnarok. Odorous Orangus, rest in peace. And where was I going with this?
Well, you're talking about maybe like CIA infiltration of juggalos and then the Civil War. So like now there's a divide and conquer dynamic that's new. So
It's
that
happening.
kind of opens it up, right?
It's happening right now. No one's even aware of it. The divide and conquer. People, when I say divide and conquer, you think America, right? The left and right. There's the divide and conquer strategy has been happening. If you look all the last like 3-4 years, very, very hardcore with the mainstream media. So first it was the left versus the right? During the elections. Then the world got locked down and there was everyone scaring the like Asian people. There was this big, remember that? The Asian thing, like that was huge. So now Asians are involved. And then it was Black Lives Matter. Now Black people are involved. And then like you could say maybe the Me Too or the Red Pill movement, that now the men and women are involved. And right now it's the Jewish stuff right now being involved. And then when Trump was running, was the Mexicans involved. So every single nationality, ethnicity, religious race is going to be hit where they're scared of the other tribes. And that's what's happening. So if I want to predict what's the next like race or nationality that's going to be focused on the mainstream right now, it's a lot of Jewish stuff, but it's going to be something that hasn't been touched yet. I don't know what that would be, but that's what I think. What do you think about that? Because that's what I've been contemplating all day.
It's a great point because I think a lot of the stuff that's happening, it's more about getting people to consider like, yeah, am I part of this group that should feel offended? Do I feel offended? Do I consider myself included as that? Or am I separate from that? And then there's like a whole push of like, well, if you feel separate from whatever's getting pushed, then that's them and this is us. And it's an us against them. Like it happens in every industry. There's even something in like video games. There was like Gamergate. In comics there's Comicgate. And like every single little genre or hobby, there seems to be like a hobby dash gate, and it's just people taking these weird ideological stances on two sides. But it really boils down to like politics at a certain point. I don't know. I tend to dismiss it just out of like convenient ignorance, right? Like I'd rather go and eat the steak than if this is the Matrix, is just hearing people bicker left and right about my team versus their team. Like I'd rather just go back into the Matrix and eat a steak at that point.
I heard you say that to someone on your last podcast. The guy was, and you were like, "Oh, you wanted to go eat the meat in the Matrix."
Yeah, Sean Chris. He's like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like, I mean, sometimes, bro. I don't know. I mean,
That was a really good podcast. I really enjoyed it.
if we're in a simulation, why not? But I mean, on like where all of these different divisions are coming, do you feel like it's coming to like an actual crescendo? Like there's some conductor at the front of the orchestra that's about to like wave and build up some new movement, or do you think it's just a general chaos that we're just going to keep increasing?
Order out of chaos, right?
Chaos is good for business. That's another good quote I heard recently.
It is. Yeah. Chaos is good for business. So I feel like the nihilistic element, the apathetic element, I've looked into apathy more so, and how we get bombarded by terrible events one after the other. It puts you into the stage, I don't care anymore, which seems to be that nihilistic. I don't care. But there's also a healthy, like letting go. But that's what I'm talking about. Like the more let go, let God, where I know what I'm in control of, my behaviors and attitudes and actions. That's all we have. We have control over two things: attitudes and actions. That's it. So letting go. This is God's world. Whatever happens is going to happen. And it comes back to just me. I don't need to join no group. I don't need to look for somebody for the answer. At the end of the day, it's a individualism, but you can point at what's the crazy stuff. It's pretty simple to find like what the evil is. I might be going off on another tangent.
Well, you were talking about not wanting to join any like so Juggalo is a group that you felt an affinity to earlier on, right? So
Yeah,
as you grow
10 years old.
older, is this like Juggalo for life? Like you're always going to be a Juggalo now?
It's been imprinted in my DNA. So we go through these
I hear
stages
that.
of we go through these stages of imprinting, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to always be there, and I kind of utilize it for when I think it got me to get girlfriends. It got me to accomplish tasks from that attitude of F it, like F it. I don't whatever. Woo woo. Like so it brought a lot of good qualities into my life. And even ICP says that they said we helped you get your ass laid back in 8th grade because it gives you that carefree attitude, the I don't care attitude, right? And that's the best. Like if you go into a party or with family, friends, when you're carefree, which a lot of people get from taking a drink, or you can get the same effect from God, like letting go. And if you don't believe in God, like trusting the universe or whatever, that it's like being carefree, non-judgmental acceptance and all that. It's better to be around people like that rather than if someone has like an agenda, like they have an agenda, and it's just kind of like weird vibe.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, if you show up at a Juggalo or any concert, right? If you go to a Deadhead concert, that was a great example. Then you don't really question why everyone's here. Like they're here because of the music and the atmosphere and just like everything that goes along with it. But that's not always as apparent in every single large, gathering. Sometimes you look around, you're like, why are some of these people even here? Like they don't
Mhm.
belong here, right?
A lot of people don't belong there, so a lot of people have bad motives, and that's the thing, is that everybody, when you go to a concert, not everybody's there because of the love of the dead, or the love, like the Deadhead, not the dead, the love of the Grateful Dead, the love of if you go to whatever concert you go to, some people aren't there for the same reasons you are there. A lot of people go to these concerts, especially the Juggalo concerts, they're sick F, and that's why they get jumped or something like that, because they could be a sicko or something like that. Same thing with spiritual movements as well. You get these new age movements. It's a perfect place for vampires to go and kick it, because you got all these people that are broken and harmed and stuff looking for spirituality, or even like some religious movement as well. It's a breeding ground for the, like, where would the devil want to hang out? Is he going to want to hang out? He wants to recruit people, right? So like he's going to want to go like probably to hang out where people he can like that aren't evil at, to recruit.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's an interesting thought experiment because, like, is the devil purely a numbers guy, or is he like, I'm gonna go after the VIPs, right? Is he building like circus, or is he trying to build like the Venetian here? Because it's a different tactic. If you want to go circus with it, then there's a certain approach. But if you only want to get the George Soroses and the Clintons, and who's the new dude? You were telling me Charlie Munger, right? If you want Charlie Munger, you might not be able to get him with the circus approach of being the devil.
Well, I predicted 2 rituals that went down, and that was yesterday. I said someone's going to die, big name. I thought it was going to be connected to banking, and it was Charlie Munger, who's best friends with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. There's a lot of interviews with Charlie Munger and Bill Gates all together. So this guy's the vice president of Berkshire Hathaway. I said that's going to happen because it was a full moon, just like Evelyn de Rothschild died the day before a full moon. He dies the day after a full moon. So there's this 3-day window, and this is pattern recognition. And I said this was going to happen yesterday, and it happened 2 days ago. Sorry, it happened 2 days ago, and it happened today. It's a ritual, and he died at 99. And a lot of stuff is connected to 6'9" or 96, and some people are saying 99 could be 96, but I got that right. And I also said that at the Hallow Wicked, Violent J's girlfriend passed away, rest in peace, at Hallow Wicked a few years ago, and she died at 33. And then just like Pimp C died at 33, and they had the new Hollow Wicked this year, and I was all like, "What's gonna happen?" And I'm not sure what exactly happened, but Isham the Unholy kind of had a breakdown at the show because he got bad news. I don't know what the bad news was. Some people are saying that his cousin passed away right before he went on stage, so I don't know what was going on. But it was
affect the show.
yeah, but he sent out an apology. So I don't know what's going on. I know it was at like the biggest Masonic temple in the world in Detroit. I don't know if there's a connection there or not. It just seems to be something going on. Well, I hope nothing is going on, or even if something is going on, it's just sad, that these, like, I am a big fan, so I hear people talk about that they cry when like the Beatles died or whatever. Like if ICP something happens to them, like even if they're going through a hard time, I feel bad for them. I'm just like, nah, because I'm so imprinted. They've really like helped me through life in a lot of ways.
You were saying a couple celebrities that died at 33. Everyone usually talks about the 27 club. But I wonder if there should be a 33 club. Maybe there is like other age clubs and just nobody has taken the time to kind of, inventory all of them.
Well, I just did a podcast with Cheney, Project Cheney,
Shout out
and
Cheney.
shout out to Cheney. And she said that she was bringing this up. Like, it's not just 27, that there's 32, 33, 69. And she thinks it's like astrological because this year, Tony Bennett died at 96. The Queen dies at 96. Rosalind Carter dies at 96, which is like the 69, 96 number. Pattern recognition, something strange. And each one of them, like Rosalind sounds like Roseline or Rosalind Chapel. That's in the Da Vinci Code. I don't know. It's just strange.
I mean, so cards on the table, I tend to give almost no credit to like the whole, sacrifice on this day and whatnot. But there's a thought that I came up with recently, and it kind of threw some of that like back out into the ether. Like now I'm back on the fence because if you look at how seriously some people, and especially in power and Hollywood and just levels of influence, how seriously they take like astrological signs and astrology when it comes to birth dates or when it comes to planning other events. What other event could be as important to plan as somebody's death, right? Like why, if you've used your entire life scheduling important events around astrological measurements, whether it's even true or not, if you've done that, why would you ever leave your final moment up to just chance? Like, oh, I don't want to just pass away in the middle of the night on like an August 11th. It's got to be August 12th. You know what I mean? Like everything will be ruined if it's not on this exact date and the moon's in this position. So with that in mind, it's almost the opposite. It would be crazy to think that nobody is planning out other people's deaths according to astrological signs, just based on how popular astrology is in general. But now we're getting into like, there's only two ways that you could go about that, and I can't really say either of them. They both involve unalivement on YouTube, right? And one is like somebody unaliving you, and another one is you unaliving you. And those are the only two ways that you can really make sure that you exit on a certain path. What's Chan got to say about this?
This is what he does. He gets close to me and then he looks at me and purrs at me, and it does something where I can't like focus, and I gotta be like, what? I don't know. What do you want, Chan? He's a cuddler. He just needs cuddles.
Have you ever considered that Chan might be some sort of like a conduit or a medium?
Chan is a gift from God himself. I didn't believe in God 10 years ago. I was done. And I kind of did, though. And I said, I was so broken. I wasn't sober. I was sleeping on the floor for years, eating tuna and beans and cans.
You
Like if
sound
I,
like Chan, dude.
yeah, I know. Yeah, he does
Sleeping on the floor, eating tuna.
no, he don't sleep on the floor. He's luxurious. He drinks nothing but the finest waters with no fluoride his entire life. But I told God that I didn't believe in. I wasn't even a prayer, but it was a prayer. I was like, I'm lonely, dude, letting you know. That's it. And I went to bed and I opened my door and he ran into my apartment and never left. I didn't believe in God until later, years later, but now I can see that that was God helping me. And even the name Chan, I just said Chan. I guess that means gift from God as well, which is crazy.
That is crazy. That mean 4chan is also a gift from God.
For a gift from God. You know, there's a new 17 website out, I heard Tommy told me about.
And by 17, you mean the letter?
Yeah, the Quasicoto letter.
Are we not even allowed to say letters of the bow? They're legitimately just saying that letter might actually hurt our, the AI score as YouTube goes through and transcribes this. That's insane.
It is the social credit scoring system that we were talking about before. So like my Facebooks, my YouTubes, everything's demonetized. Although there's a lot of people on the internet now saying some really wild stuff. I mean, I'm very like, I say some stuff, but I don't say like, I don't call for anybody to do anything. People say some crazy stuff.
Sometimes that's more dangerous though, man. Like the ones that come across as more rational and thoughtful and, actually someone that could convince somebody. Like sometimes the wackadoo stuff that you're talking about where it's like call to arms and like let's all show up at someone such's house. Like that
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
I mean
More than
it
Noam
hits a certain
Chomsky
group.
vibes. Right.
Well, that's exactly it. Like they might have more consideration, not over the 20 people that might show up with Laura Loomer to like stamp on like Nancy Pelosi's front lawn. But if you got a message that could resonate with tens or hundreds of thousands of people, you're way more of a risk than someone that would be more extremist because those extremists are probably, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, pop the collar a little bit, man. I mean, you're probably on the top of the ATF's list.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
What would you do if or I'm like, let's say that it starts getting big, right? And all of a sudden you do like, the Donut-a-thon and or Donut Palooza. And, let's say let's keep it small enough just so we can visualize it. 10,000 people show up. That's pretty large still, right? What would you do to make sure that you weed out like the CIA agents or the agent provocateurs, or is there anything that you would think that you could do that other people haven't thought of? I'd make everyone take a hit of acid on the way in, but I know that that's probably not as acceptable as other solutions.
I feel like
honestly, some CIA guys.
I feel like that's what they would do.
Yeah, that's
I would say no alcohol, no drugs, no alcohol. It'd be a sober event, and there'll be security there. If anyone starts acting up, they get out, they get arrested, and they get kicked out. That's what I would do. I don't know what I'm just that was the first thought that came up to my head, like really thinking about it. Because I was thinking about it would be cool to open up a bar that had no alcohol. So you go there and they'd be like health drinks or something, but it's up late at night. So, and like if you're, you know how you can't get in unless you're 21, it would be the same thing. You can't get in unless you haven't like drank or something. So there's be no disruption.
You got to do an alcohol test on the way into the bar.
Yeah, that's what, instead of a gay carded, you got to take the alcohol test.
I like that. Or yeah, you do a sobriety test. Like you have to walk a line. Like in order to get into the bar, you got to walk in a line and like touch your nose on the way in. And
it wasn't totally my idea. It was this guy, Intrinsic, who I've known for like 20 years, doing the Juggalo stuff too with. He came up with that idea as
What
well.
is there is there a specific crossover between straight edgers and juggalos? Are there like straight edge juggalos, and do they have a certain name?
I'm probably the only straight edge juggalo out there. Like the straight edge kids and the juggalos in Vegas, they were clashing. I mean, bloodshed, and it got very violent. And the thing is that the juggalos are very immersed in the drug culture, and the straight edge kids with the X's are against it. But at the exact same time, this juggalo was serving them anything they wanted, but I couldn't tell their other straight edge friends, but they were all partying. They just pretended they were, but they all were, you know. So it's a very, it's just, kids.
Well, I think there's a lot more similarities there too, because most growing up around all the straight edgers that were in my town, it was almost like their drug was just getting in the fights or just causing
They were so
confrontations with people.
violent.
Like the favorite thing they used to do would be to go out onto the
Brass
pier
knuck.
and find people that were smoking cigarettes and just
And
punch
beat
them right
them.
in the face, or take the
Yeah.
cigarette and like put it out on them, and it was just like anybody, like no matter what age or race or sex, if you were smoking a cigarette, you could be punched in the face. And this was the 90s, so it probably wouldn't fly the same now.
Yeah, no, I remember that. And I was like, that's wild, and that's why that's not spiritual at all. That's evil. Mm. And the thing is that you take away the drugs and alcohol from an addict. Let's say the drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. They should legalize everything. The problem is the individual, and the solution to the problem is the drugs and alcohol. So that feeling of letting go that Nietzsche was talking about, that people got maybe in a religious experience, letting go and surrendering their will, that's letting go. You don't want to take it because it's the same effect you get from drinking or taking a drug or smoking a cigarette. So the straight edge kids, what's probably going on is that they're very pissed and have the malaise and discontents in society, living in an unnatural civilization of the city, that it turns into angst, because resentment and anger, that makes people drink. Now you're listening to angry music, which I like to listen to sober, when I'm angry, to get it out. Minor Threat, oh my goodness, I listen to Minor Threat all the time.
That's pretty straight edge.
It's the most straight edge. But if you don't have a solution, like, that's a good cathartic experience, but if you don't have a solution where you're going to just go harm other people, that's a downward spiral where that's just, so like these kids, they're angry and they're not taking the solution of spirituality, which Carl Jung said that was the solution, or taking the drugs and alcohol, which is usually the solution for the masses. They don't have any of that. So it makes sense that they're leading to being assassins for I bet you there's something up with the two X's on both hands. Maybe that's like some sort of cross of Lorraine.
Yeah, dude. Man, I was gonna ask you.
And no disrespect, I'm not trying to disrespect any juggalos, hardcore, or nothing. I grew up in this.
What would they take offense to?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify that that's what I grew up with. That's my upbringing.
Oh yeah, you said something that I agree with, but I want to just play devil's advocate. That all drugs should just be legal, and that it's really like the person that's the problem and not the drug. And so there are some obvious, like, I guess like an edge case, right? Like a very niche, small percentage of people that would run into these particular ones, but this is where like the rubber meets the road. So one of the examples, it's related to like the seatbelt law. And I've heard this one described, and I'm not like a legal expert, and I'm sure it's been dismantled in other discussions before, but like the seatbelt law, it seems so silly. It's like, why should I go to jail, or why should I have to pay a ticket? Why should it even be illegal for me to not have my seatbelt on? Who could it possibly be hurting? Even if I get into an accident, maybe, yeah, I fly through and I turn into a missile and I hit somebody else. That's like aside the point. But The law, as it was explained to me in a logical sense, not in a legal sense, was that it's illegal because you dying, yeah, that might be up to you, but you dying can affect everybody. It can affect your family, your friends, maybe your work. Now you're affecting the economy. Don't play with their money. You know what I mean? So it's illegal because you dying has this great impact. So I've heard that same logic applied to like make all drugs free, because it's like, okay, fine. If some dude wants to go and just put, like a horse in his arms until he's gone, why not? Well, maybe that guy has a family. Maybe he's got kids. Maybe he's got a wife or like someone else that he cares for. So then it becomes illegal because you going away, that's bad for you, but it's just as bad for a bunch of other people. So now it's almost like you're not allowed to do drugs because you doing drugs could hurt the people around you, which again, it's devil's advocate because it's a cross between nanny state, but there's also something about that, like making it accessible to where if I could just go to the end of the street and just keep dumping my paycheck into, something illicit that's highly addictive, then maybe that would hurt more people than it helps. I don't know. I'm still for all legalization, but there's like these weird edge cases like where what do you do?
Well, on paper that sounds great, like socialism. On paper it sounds great, but it ends in mass genocide. That if you look at the statistics of
Not if
people
you do it right. They just haven't done it right yet.
they haven't
just
done it
gotta
right.
wait.
They'll get it right
Next
sometime.
time.
Yeah.
Third 100 times the charm.
If you look at the statistics of people dying, which I'm in recovery, so I see people die all the time. I mean, all the time. That the statistics are only going up right now. They're not going down. So whatever Nancy Reagan did with the Just Say No campaign, or the Dare, just say no to a kid at the age of disobedience at 10, where they're questioning authority figure. And then you got the biggest authority figure, the police, telling you not to do something, but these are the things not to do and what they smell like and what they look like and what happened, teaching you everything.
Mm-hmm.
You could just see the statistic. Whatever's happening now isn't working. It's not working. And there's this thing called the death drive that Freud also talked about, that when you put the warning label on a cigarette, sales skyrocket because people are moving towards their demise. Like they for some reason the death instinct. So I don't know, that's how I would respond to what sounds, oh yeah, that sounds rational, that sounds right, yeah. But I also like freedom, so I'm like all about freedom too. So it's very, when you're into freedom, you there's a lot of like responsibility that comes along with that. And most of the world doesn't want to be a responsible adult. They want to be Arrested Development. They don't want to take responsibility. So it's just these strange concepts. And
Being a responsible adult doesn't sound nearly as fun.
if you want freedom, you have to have responsibility. And responsibility is fun because responsibility is the ability to respond. So if something's happening to your family, friends, situation, anything, and being able to respond, that's fun. You know what I mean? That you can respond and do something. That's
Do you
good.
think Aleister Crowley felt like he had responsibilities?
Aleister Crowley was on drugs, so he was emotionally stunted.
No, this is anti-freedom, but not in a horrible way. But this is like definitely non-voluntarist. But what do you think about mandatory drugs? One time, like when you turn 18, before you're allowed to vote, before you're allowed to do anything that you'd consider adult.
You
Like,
must take some freaking
you gotta do something.
or LSD. So that's hilarious.
Maybe it's just meth. I don't know. Maybe it's something. But you have to do one of those things, so you can't just live life not being. And it's not a way to like push inebriation. It's more of a way to like, hey, dummy, there's more out there than what's just going into your stupid eyeballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not for it.
Okay,
I
we don't
think
have
that
Donut on the force everyone to do drugs ballot yet. We're gonna get you there though.
yeah, I'm still fairly young in my mind. I know I'll rewatch this when I'm older, and I'll be like, "What the heck was I saying?" Because that's
Give me another hit. Are you in AA or NA?
I am in recovery in 12 step
But do you like
program.
have you actively gone to either of those?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What do you prefer one over the other? Are you not do you not want to like
Yeah,
take
it's
shots at anyone?
it's the 12 steps is a spiritual program that if you have addiction or problems, it's probably the most spiritual place you can ever go to because you're dealing with people that hit the bottom and they're real and you see people's change their lives to get rid of an addiction through a process of the 12 steps, which could be also going to anybody's spirituality. Like it doesn't have to be that. It could just be because that's all based off of it's like alchemical. It's like alchemy. Even the symbol is the great work, the magnum
It's very
opus.
magical, and I mean, and I'm pretty sure that the AA guys that concept started over an LSD trip too, which is ironic.
Oh yeah, well they wanted to give the LSD to this was very to the low bottom drunks, which
Hmm.
I'm totally for. Like made for them to because they're so at the bottom, and we're not talking about like your average. They were talking about your low bottom drunks that are like homeless. They can't get it.
This was a
And
reset. They kind of described it as like a full reset where you take somebody's mind and you completely change it so that if you were in a funk where you're just like you wake up, you go to the liquor store, you pass out drunk and you repeat that for 10 years, like that becomes your imprint. So the original concept, I believe, of AA was like take not AA itself, but the founders of AA went through like a bunch of different experiments, and one of them was like just can radically change your perspective, and that would get some people to just give up drinking altogether because then they realized, oh, there's something outside of this program that I've settled into for the last decade.
well, it makes me sketched out just that whole element though when they're talking about that and how they had the meeting with the Rockefellers who are very involved in the MK Ultra stuff
Oh,
going
of
on.
course. I mean, yeah. There's honestly, I think that it's all in on the big scheme. AA, NA, all of those 12-step programs. I think ultimately are based on like Rockefeller medicine slash mysticism in many different ways, just because they follow this very specific pattern. And I know that a lot of people get benefit out of them, and I think they're both great programs. I've been to both of them in a few different cities and whatnot, and it was never my thing because at a certain point it felt like uh it was almost like story time at certain ones. I mean, I've only been to certain ones, right? But every once in a while it's like, am I in a recovery meeting or am I in just like, like a high school, like prom party where people are like bragging about how much crap that they did over the summer, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it
It's
could
such a
turn
weird environment.
it could turn into like a bar instead of going to the bar. You're just going to this bar or it's sober. But the thing is that the principles behind it. See, that's where people get it mixed up. It's the principles behind it is the way that Jesus lived his life. So, like, as being Jewish, like learning the 12 steps made me very open to Christianity and whatnot because the the whole steps are based off of the way Jesus lived his life. In a sense, the principles of it: honesty, integrity, brotherly love, and me applying that has done nothing but good in my life.
Have you done the full 12 steps? Like
I
down to like what is it like making an inventory and then like contacting people and
Well, it's funny.
apologizing and
It's funny because yes, but it's anonymous, so it's a secret society too. So I always find that interesting as well.
how anonymous is it really though? Like you just don't have to say your name, but people know who you are.
Yeah, but like a lot of people don't want to like, but it's still. like the anonymous part. So that makes it like a secret society. It's the same basis though.
It's a good
And
point. Yeah, I never thought of NA or AA as secret societies, but they very much
it
are
is. It's
because
like
you don't
Fight
have to.
Club. Because like Fight Club, he was going. Fight Club, he was like starting his Illuminati, going to all the meetings instead of going to all the different uh like Masonic temples. They was going to the meetings instead, in a sense.
I think there's a good sequel in there somewhere.
Oh, for a Fight Club too.
It just takes place in Masonic temples. Yeah.
Did you see that video that was released with what the Mason stuff?
Yeah, what did you think about all that? It was like a
Oh,
four-parter, right?
I thought it was hilarious, but also like the guy who's posting it was all like, "This is like Jewish," and I'm just like, "What? I've never seen any like Jewish stuff like that."
Well, I mean that's a pretty common accusation. I think there might be a lot of merit to it because even if you go back and read through, for example, Morals and Dogma, if you read through all of the different degrees that it goes through 4 through 32 or 33, it pretty much constantly references the Talmud and it constantly references
Oh, really?
all of these like old. I don't know anything about the Talmud other than
Me
just like
neither.
podcasts I've heard people talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah, like apparently if you really want to understand a lot of the core teachings of Masonry and you don't know like Hebrew, or if you don't know some of those like ancient Talmudic teachings, then you're kind of missing out on a lot of it. So that's what I've heard, at
Wow.
least, especially about the Scottish Rite. And I've heard, and because I haven't gone through the York Rite, but I've heard that that one's more of like the Christian vibe. That one's more about Knights Templar and Jesus and New Testament, whereas Scottish Rite is kind of all over the place, and they incorporate a lot of different things like Chaldean and yeah. So I,
Chaldean.
I don't know enough about any of that, or at least I'm not allowed to tell you about it, otherwise they'll pluck my eyes out. As you saw in that video, right? It's
Do they
very
pluck out eyes?
very menacing with the guys with the Lacoste shirt tucked into the khakis and the
I just
Keds.
saw the guy get pushed over, and then they were marching around. It was a sight to see, but
And honestly, that is probably a very typical situation too, where like the dudes clearly like just got dropped off by their wives, right? The wives are out doing something on like a Saturday, and like they're kind of stuck in this room to do their little thing for the afternoon. But there's some stories. I talked to Joel Thomas and a few other people. I won't even mention everyone else's names, but that some of these people went through initiations that were like way more dramatic, and I've seen initiations that were 100 times more dramatic than this well-lit fluorescent cafeteria sort of like it almost looks like a school play rehearsal,
do you
right?
think it was like a lower level?
No, I don't think it was lower level. I just think that for some lodges out there, that those particular rituals are more just like all you got to do is go through the motions, right? Like you could play. This is going to be the worst analogy ever, but like you could play Monopoly by just like drawing your own board and getting your own pieces and putting it all together. But there's something weird about like that name brand version of it, or the one where it's like, I want the little silver dog, and I want to open up the community chest and see that thing with like the Mr. Moneybags with like holding his pockets out. Like there's like certain tradition that people get really really invested in, and then when you just like remove all that, you're like, what is this is like bootleg Monopoly. I don't want to play bootleg. It's like, well, it's the same game, right? It's the same tokens, it's the same experience, but there's a little bit missing from it. So that's the biggest difference. But it's like, imagine everyone in there was wearing a nice fancy suit, and instead of the fluorescent lightings, it was like dramatic lighting. And imagine it was 15-foot ceilings instead of the 9-foot ceilings, with like the particle
Or like in the
so,
cave would be way
or
doper.
in a cave, yeah. So like all those things add to the drama, but if you were to take all that drama away and take all the costumes and all of the everything, it's kind of exactly what you see there, right? So like
So
that's
it's like that, but the atmosphere was awful.
the atmosphere was awful, but
The
there's a
atmosphere
lot of
sets the
lodges
tone.
that they don't care about that aspect of it. Like there's some lodges you would go to and it's like, oh, this lodge cares about the ritual, and they're big into the ritual and the memory work. And you might go to another lodge, and that lodge is like all about the camaraderie, and it's all about like what they do after they meet up, and they go out and they hang out together. Whereas some lodges, it's like work friends, right? It's like your lodge friends, and then after lodge is over, you maybe don't necessarily mingle or incorporate it with your life as much. And all this stuff all matters big. It would just be like if you went and joined a club, or if you were going out and joining colleges. It's not just like every single college is the same. You can get the same degrees from every college, just like you can get the same degrees from any lodge. But the experience as you get those degrees is vastly different. And if you just want to go and get your degree and leave, and you don't even need to talk to anyone, I mean, maybe Phoenix University is something for you, and you can get your Masonic degrees online and not even talk to people, I think, at this point. So there's all these different things that can go into it.
Yeah, bringing it back to the hip hop ICP element, like ICP, you see their live show, it'll absolutely change your life because they're the greatest showsmen. There, you go there, the music, the stage, the elements. I can't even picture like being on like some sort of schizogenic and seeing that. It would like definitely, it's like what people have going to raves. I know a lot of people who used to do drugs going to raves, and now they go back sober because they had some spiritual experience there. I feel like they could have done with a leaked video. They could have done a lot better for recruitment for it. Just, in the style of the elements of showsmanship. It could, you know what I mean?
Honestly,
Because it looked like it was like is somebody's like a YMCA.
I mean, it's funny because you were just saying like, what if someone did that in a rave? And I'm just thinking, yeah, what if someone went like underground to a rave?
Yeah, that was nothing like
turned the lights on and recorded it. And it's like I'm sure everyone at the rave with the lights off and they're dancing and like they feel like everyone's like a badass, right? But if someone was like,
they turned the lights on,
yeah, this is gonna be you next Friday if you go to that rave, and it's just like a little, you're pasty and you're like sweaty, like your shirt's all drenched in sweat, and you're dancing like a weirdo. You know what I mean?
The theatrics are all gone. Yeah,
yeah, dude. Once the theatrics are removed,
that's hilarious.
So, all right, I'm just going to cut into something, so prepare yourself.
Hey, conspiracy buffs, I double dare you to take some PCP, the Paranormal Conspiracy Probe. On your marks, get set, and go!
Oh, I love
Simple
that.
rules, 0 to 10. 0, you don't believe. 10, you do believe.
Okay.
Reptilians exist on this planet right now. Reptilian shapeshifters.
Oh boy. Starting it off with that is because it's
just a 0 to 10. It doesn't need a whole. Well, we can get into
5.
the details. Okay. Bigfoot.
10. I saw
the
couple
moon
weeks ago.
landing.
0.
Stanley Kubrick was revealing secret information about the moon landing in his movies.
10.
Aleister Crowley summoned an actual demon.
10.
You could go on to Amazon right now, buy the top 10 how to summon a demon books, and summon a demon yourself.
10.
When the Reagans were doing seances in the White House, they were contacting actual spirits.
10.
Have you ever heard of the obscene rite with the Skull and Bones initiation?
No, what's that?
So the obscene rite was basically they would either eat a live pineal gland. That was one version of it. And then another one was that they would lie into a coffin and, I guess, naked and do things to themselves and recount their sexual exploits.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay,
yeah.
let's go on the former one, eating a live pineal gland. 0 to 10 that's part of the Skull and Bones actual ritual.
10.
And then, well, I guess the other one is way more mild, so I'll just say 10 for the other one too. There's a hip-hop Illuminati that actually decides whether or not you get in.
10.
The humiliation ritual to get into hip-hop is a real thing. Like, you can't get in unless you do something horrendous.
10.
Let me just ask if there's any ones out there. I got a 5 on reptilians, but everything else has been a 10.
Because I feel like the reptilian thing, like I don't think that they're like actual, like I that whole thing is there's so many elements to it.
All right, we're gonna pick that one apart a little bit more. Time travel.
5.
What about MK Ultra mind control today? Do you think that it's still like there's an actual program within the CIA that's funded that they're still doing it?
10.
Project Monarch.
10.
Everything that Fritz Springmeier wrote.
5.
Have you talked to Fritz directly?
Yeah, Fritz is the man. He's such a sweet guy. He's awesome. But I feel like as just a human, even myself, I would rate what do I say as a 5 as well. I would put me at a 5 too.
Oh yeah, let's
Because we're
Doenut.
human. We're human. We're like any human out there is gonna.
The Bible, 0 to 10. How accurate is it?
I don't know. I have no
Like
idea.
getting you in trouble with this question?
Well, the thing is like it gets rewritten and it gets, you know what I mean? Like it gets edited. You know what I mean?
So not a 10.
The thing is that I believe in God and God is or he isn't. Like, am I pregnant? Like 1 out of 10. Like it's either there's a God or either there's not. So like it's that's such a hard.
Well, I'm not asking you to rate God. I'm just asking you to rate the King James Bible in particular.
Okay, King James Bible. I would say 8.
Is there a higher rated Bible, or do you think that's across the board?
If there is, I'm not going to be able to see it, but I know the principles. Like we were talking about earlier, the way that Jesus lived, those principles are true.
Astrology.
Oh, 10. Yeah.
Gematria.
10. Yeah, because that's like gematria. It's A, 1, 2, B.
What about The Secret? You know The Secret, Law of Attraction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where are you at on that?
5.
5. How about the crystals? Remember in The Secret, or it might have been What the Bleep, where like you could meditate and think positive or negative and freeze the crystals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where are you at on that? 5?
5. Yeah. Because there's like some truth and falsities in all of it.
Dinosaurs.
0.
Dragons.
10.
Okay, we're gonna end it here so we can go and talk about some of these. We'll get into reptilians, but
okay,
this has been the most consistent theme so far. Is that anyone that rates dinosaurs 5 or lower will tend to rate dragons 5 or higher, and I'm interested. I'm morbidly interested at why dragons seem more reasonable than dinosaurs.
Okay, new topic of information I've been studying lately, but dragons, every single culture, we're coming up onto the year of the dragon, for example, for 2024. And all cultures showcase the dragon. And if history is true or false, nobody was communicating, but that's all a lie. It's the dragon, I think, was a thing because it's all over the place. And like you don't see like all these different dinosaurs all over the place. You just see the same symbol of the same type of dragon.
Do you think that also applies to like various cultures that didn't connect with each other had like two-horned deities, right? Like a lot of them have these two-horned agricultural gods. Do you think that that's because there was an actual two-horned like giant or like a two-horned entity at some point that everybody was actually seeing?
Oh, that's interesting. Probably.
This isn't a really 0 to 10, but I'm just curious. Do you think that the older is the more accurate? Because I feel like there's a weird trend, right? If someone's like, I found this original Bible and it's 1,000 years older than any other Bible. It's almost like you're really saying like this one's 1,000 years righter, right? Like this one was closer to the source and therefore has more accurate information. But then you could also say that we, I guess, improve information. We have the potential to improve information over time and refine it. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you erode. But yeah, do
Right.
you think that there's anything to that? Like the older the book you find, the more accurate the information it is.
That's a good point because like the even in this like conspiracy movement, people are still relying on the old books when there's so much exposure and like of new information that like adds on to it. Like, oh no, it's not this, that we all thought it was just this, but it's a bigger network. It's this. And then it gets bigger. It's like, oh wow, this is even connected to this. But if you go even further back, then you're like, oh wow, this was happening before this. So I think it's a mixture of both. It's like a mixture of both, like going way, way back to see where things are stemming from, but also seeing the new information. Like Socrates, I think, says, I know nothing.
That that's a crazy concept that I hadn't considered, but there's like this inverse, right? Like there's the movement for science. If you send your kid to school, their science book is going to be way different than the science they taught you. And a bunch of the stuff that they taught you is wrong by now, right? So it kind of like it's constantly changing. Maybe it depends on how well funded your school is. Maybe they still got books from like the 70s or the 80s, but in general, it's like it's constantly updating. We're constantly reevaluating everything that we know in like modern academia. When you go into like the conspiracy crowd, and I'll just talk in general here. I feel like I'm somewhat qualified to at least observe. But
Right.
in the
You are.
conspiracy crowds, it seems like the opposite of that sometimes. It's like the older information somehow just like never gets washed away. No one, very rarely is someone like, yeah, behold the pair of horse, Will Cooper, he had some stuff right, but like we've improved on it and we've refined it and we found better things. It seems that people will be like, no, no, go back to this page and this paragraph and he says this, and like those words just echo forever. And it seems like that same thing doesn't apply in a lot of other communities. Specifically, like if you just go to science or academia in general, it's like whatever the latest expert said is kind of the thing that everyone agrees with and carries forward. And very
Well, not,
rarely is
not,
someone like, well, this guy 100 years ago said this, so that's got to be more accurate.
but the books don't update till like 50 years later. So like
You're
a lot
right.
of, so like the masses, maybe the top scientist people will do that, but like the masses in school, they'll still teach the old information, even though new information was like, even when I went to film school was right when HD cameras were coming out, and they were training us with the mini DV tapes. But it was like, why are we using mini DV tapes? This is
These
done with.
aren't going anywhere, kid. They'll be around forever.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is totally accurate. Although I'm also just thinking of like how often conspiracy research will cite like the same book from the 1800s, or they'll cite the letter but of Robeson, right, and George Washington talking about like the Illuminati and stuff. And like I
Robeson.
think there's been more nuance added to that, but very rarely does someone cite the nuanced, updated version of it. They usually go back to that like OG report, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, here, look, they were talking about Illuminati, so therefore, it means something else. I don't know. I'm just a little bit ranting at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think there's like it's good. Good. I think it's all good. Like you kind of look at everything.
Is there
Yeah.
anything bad in the conspiracy world that could be
Yeah.
better?
Uh, I think that it's just humans. Like we have the inclination of good or evil every day. It's like a reset. So every single moment that we're in, it's just human. It's just like me. Like where am I gonna put my focus and lean towards? Sort of. Maybe it's not like, but the movement itself. of any movement is not an individual. So when you're in a group think, it's not even an individual anymore. It takes on its own mind, the group mind, the hive mind. And you can see this in events or rallies or whatever, where it's just like everybody's like hypnotized by the leader. Um, so
Yeah, the book
maybe it is
The
like that.
Crowd by Gustave Le Bon makes a really good case
Right.
of that, where that like once you get a group together, the group becomes the new organism. Like you're no longer interacting with individual people at this point. You're interacting with like this amalgamation of people, and that new amalgamation, that group thing, only has a level of reasoning as the lowest common denominator in that group. So if you got Stephen Hawking and you got like a straight edge pugilist that wants to punch you in the face because he saw you smoking a cigarette in a group, like you're never gonna, like, as you interact with that group, you never get to talk to the Stephen Hawking element of it. You only get to talk to the guy that wants to punch you element of it.
And it goes into our autonomic nervous system of being ostracized. So in the tribe is the group, right? So there's something for the group as well. And there could also be bad for the group. Now, the new tribal leader has turned into money. So if the money you get demonetized or you lose your job, it's the same effect as the tribal leader saying, you're out of here, right? You're ostracized. So what kicks in is the autonomic nervous system of like, no, 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 I want to be part of the group, because being ostracized meant that you're going to go be in the jungle, which meant you're going to get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have that exact same robot programming that I call it, even though we have like totally left that like whole tribe thing, but it's still there though. In the money is the leader to that system. Just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Well, and so that's the human element. Let's talk about some non-human elements, starting with reptilians. So you gave reptilians a 5, and I realized that because reptilian can mean a lot of different things to different people. It could be like a code word, it could be a placeholder. But let's focus on like a legitimate interdimensional Draco constellation, shape shifting, cold blooded, double eyelid. You know what I mean? Like the full thing, the Super Mario Brothers movie dude. That's like jumping in and out of reality.
Well, that's the reptilian, is the Super Mario guy. So when I think reptilian, I think Super Mario guy, because that was my programming for the reptilians.
So what puts the Super Mario reptilian at 5 and Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot at 10?
I saw Bigfoot
Real? Tell me about this.
a couple weeks ago. Like it just
Was this your first Bigfoot sighting?
I've seen them twice.
What was the
And
first one?
it was in my apartment, and I looked over and I was like, what the fuck? Hey, am I tripping? What the heck? And it was gone, but I felt a presence. And I was like, there was this big, the only thing I could think of is like, that was Bigfoot. And then I saw it again when I was walking through my apartment like a week or two ago. In the corner of my eyes, I was like, oh, is that Bigfoot? My mind's playing tricks on me, but I saw that, and I'm in Arizona. So there's a lot of Native American stuff out here. I've seen other stuff Native American wise.
But both times Bigfoot was inside your apartment?
Yeah. I've never seen a reptilian. He was huge. He was like, I would say 8 feet but big, but not fat, like muscular, big.
Did it smell like anything?
I didn't smell nothing.
Really? Did it have red hair?
But it was, I don't know. It was like a shadow of him. And I've seen ghosts and stuff. This is an old apartment I live in. The Rat Pack used to stay. This used to be a hotel. And I've seen ghosts and felt ghosts when I first moved in, and I opened up my windows and I told them to leave. So like, I've seen ghosts too. So
we talked a while ago about something about like ghost that like chocolate. I can't remember the exact what was that line or that thread where ghost and chocolate connected somehow.
Well, I was here with someone and we didn't know each other. We didn't know anything about each other. and it got really cold, and we heard a noise, and we both freaked out. We're like, "What was that?" We go in the other room, and there was chocolate there, and it was wrapped in foil, so it was like the chocolate. Maybe Chan moved it, but I don't know. Maybe he didn't. But there was a noise, and we both freaked
Chan.
out. But the thing was that it got so cold, and we're in Arizona. This is the summertime. It is hot. Like you can't get cold. You put the AC on all day. It is hot, and it was freezing to the point where I had to get out of my apartment and go outside. And then we looked up what do ghosts like, and chocolate popped up. So
Oh,
maybe
well,
we
you
can't
just
eat it.
searched it and chocolate popped up?
Yeah.
Do you think that you could catch a ghost on camera, or do you think that they sort of like side skirt, our
I think
laws
you
of
can.
physics?
Yeah, I
You
think
think
you
you
can.
think so?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah, I
Bigfoot
think
too?
yeah, probably.
But
Like
there
the
are some people
Wi-Fi,
that
we don't see the Wi-Fi, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like the internet, like there's just so much weird stuff that can happen with the internet and the Wi-Fi with time travel. That's where I start thinking time travel, where I could bring it up a little bit higher, is just like this whole thing is weird. I don't understand it. Internet, Wi-Fi, you can't see it.
I mean, some people out there understand it, and you can't see Wi-Fi, but you can detect Wi-Fi consistently and reliably. But that's another one of my favorite questions, just because a lot of people have different perceptions on, like, for example, Bigfoot might know that you've got a camera set up and he just won't walk into the line of sight of it because maybe he can see where the camera sees. Or another one is that people that go out hunting for Bigfoot, that maybe Bigfoot knows that you've got a gun or he knows that you've got intentions and he's just like, I'm going to stay away from those dudes. I just won't go over there. And it would almost be like you avoiding, like a car driving around with the car alarm going off. Like, it wouldn't be hard to avoid. You just go in the opposite direction and never cross paths with it. So
Well, I think that like a Bigfoot or an entity or a plant can feel the intention. So a plant can feel an intention. They've done studies where a person comes in and harms the plant, and they had it up on radar detection, and then that person leaves and the plants calm down, but that person comes back inside with the same intent but didn't do anything, and the
really,
plants freaked out because of the intention. So maybe you could capture something paranormal by not trying to capture it, by like having no intention, and then for some reason your phone glitches on a new update where they have like some new freaking like night vision kind of thing, and like you're updating it but you dropped your phone, like so there was like some weird accident glitch that maybe it could capture something, but it's not the intention of looking for it. Maybe that's how it works.
do you think plants have souls?
um yeah,
What about a rock?
I think that is a great question, and what I think it is maybe it's not a soul, but it's like the presence of God, but we get so disconnected from it that we think it's just a rock, but really there's like God in it. But I don't know. It seems like rocks don't have souls to me.
That sounds like a 5.
Yeah, I go with
It could go
a
either
five for
way.
that one. Yeah,
And
these
what
are good
about
questions. You got me thinking. This is stuff I don't be thinking about. Like I feel like I'm doing terrible at this because it's not.
well, there's no right or wrong questions, and honestly, I'm trying my best too to like not have reactions to some of it because I don't even know what I believe on over half of these.
Yeah, I'm just going. I'm trying to just go with whatever pops into my mind and
How about
my
this one,
heart.
Donut? Are you a cop?
A cop?
Are you a cop? Because if you are,
No.
you've got to tell me. That's the law.
Like, oh, I'm not a cop. No.
If you were a cop, would you tell me?
Yeah, I'd be if
Okay,
I was
all right,
captured.
all right, all right. So everyone in the comments,
My cousin said
stop
I'm not.
calling Donut a cop. He's not a cop.
Nobody's ever. I was at a Juggalo thing and they called me a cop. Some
It
high
Did you show
Juggalos.
up without face paint?
It's just because, bro. It's like I'm growing up, and a lot of people don't grow up.
Is there is there like an adult section of like a
You're like
gathering of the
only sober.
Juggalos?
I was the only sober person there. Like there might have been one or two other ones I wasn't aware of, but it was not the place for me to be at because I'm a different person now. I still listen to the music as an individual once in a while, but I'm not like trying to be around a bunch like what I was saying about the reason somebody's there is not I went there because I love the music, I love the band, I love all that. But a lot of other people, they don't have that same love and passion as me. They just want to go somewhere where they can have that civilization and it's this intense cathartic moment of I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do drugs, I'm gonna go do this. Like their intentions are different. So I'm around a lot of people whose intentions aren't the same as my intentions. Is I want to go here. I love this. It's going to bring me closer to God, and it still did. It still did, but I
Did
left.
Juggalo bring you closer to like conspiracy and occult and all of that? Was that an entryway into that, or was that unrelated?
No, I think the thing with ICP is that it let me escape the pains of um growing up.
Do you got any idea what you would do today? Let's say that you're in fifth grade today, right? And your mom's gonna drive you to the store or whatever later. Like, what do you think Juggalos would still be attractive to you, or is there any other like modern? Like, would you be a SoundCloud rapper? Would you have face tats? Like, what tribe would you join today if you had to do it? And not
Um
as an adult donut. I'm saying as like a fifth grade donut, looking around at the world and the options in
oh,
front of you.
today, like looking around.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be really screwed because of when I grew up, it was in Las Vegas and like the whole or maybe I don't know. That's a great question. um
Like if you had a kid, you had a little donut, 5-year-old or a fifth grader, and he was like, Daddy Donut, I want to be a Juggalo. What would your reaction to that be? Would you all be like, hell yeah, like I've been waiting for this day, and you bring out the face paint, or would you pause for a second and be like, I don't know.
oh, I'd be super excited. I'd be like, woo
Yeah.
woo. Yeah, no, that'd
Do
be
you
tight.
think it would be appropriate? Because I know a handful of people that were kind of grown up in going to the Dead concerts or like just driving around and following bands and like that hippie weird sort of bohemian lifestyle, right? Is that like a place that you could raise somebody? Could you raise a kid reliably in like a Juggalo
Yeah,
culture?
a lot
Yeah.
of juggalos got kids. Yeah, a lot of my friends, all juggalos, all have kids.
Bring them to all the concerts, like
Take
you
them
don't
all
keep
to
it hidden
concerts.
from
Yeah.
like that section of the family.
No, I mean everyone I know, like in that world, all have kids, and kids are fine. They're all.
Are there many closeted juggalos, or are most juggalos like out in the open?
I don't think there's a such thing as a closeted juggalo. Yeah,
No, I
no,
mean there was I can't remember the name of. There was a movie recently. It had one of the chicks that was in Workaholics in it, but it was basically about like a guy that grows up and he used to be in the Juggalos and he wants to go back, but he's like clean cut and he's got like the button down shirt and everything. But like ends up like falling right back into the Juggalo culture. Does that
oh,
ring
that's
any bells? If
hilarious.
not, I'll have to find the name of it for you.
Oh, you got to find that. That sounds awesome.
All right. Well, we're getting to a good 90 minutes here. And I wanted to do another shout out. Me and Donut are working on a little Illuminati pamphlet. It's gonna have the most accurate, up to date research that you can find. We've poured through every major Illuminati book that we could get our hands on. Like no stone unturned. And I swear that even like some of these books, me and Donut had already read before, but like going back through it and like writing down the dates and the day, like the times and dates and names and connecting them all each other, I feel like I hadn't read any of it before because it's like keep finding new names and new plugs. And just like you were saying earlier, that there's these direct connections between Beethoven and the Illuminati and Mozart and the Illuminati and like a number of people, Bach and the Illuminati. And I could have sworn I would have remembered that if I had read it earlier. But some of this research is just like page after page. It's just like blam, blam, blam. Like every single fact kind of like slaps you across the face. Then by the time you get to chapter 2, you forgot all the crazy stuff that happened in chapter 1.
And it's going to be so sick. It's going to be a dope pamphlet. It's going to be so dope. It's Illuminati.
It's gonna get you the highest you've ever been while you were sober. Just smelling the paper.
It's gonna be the most. If you want to know about the Illuminati, you read this booklet, and you'll know more than Illuminati researchers.
Is on that note, is there one thing about the Illuminati that you either think people should know, either like that they don't know, or something that they think about the Illuminati that's incorrect that they should unknow?
Well, first off, it's secret societies are networks, and there's a power to a network. And by keeping it secret is how they stay really in power. And also, it's also like you can trust everybody in that little network because they can keep a secret, sort of. That the idea of the Illuminati, you say that people don't think it's real because it's been so commercialized and mysticized, if that's a word, that this is history. It's real. It's not weird. This secret Skull and Bones, Billington's book, Fire in the Minds of Men, all the researchers, well-known researchers, know about these topics. They're very important. This is how the world actually operates. So if people are leaving this out, like schools or podcasters, they don't touch on these aspects of power, then they're just not telling you the truth, because this is real. This is the Council of Foreign Relations, whatever it is, like the secrecy, the Manhattan Projects. It's all real stuff.
I wonder if they told us about the Bavarian Illuminati in world history in public school, if that would make you like less interested about it. So then when you're out of school and you hear about it, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. I remember passing that pop quiz. You know what I mean? Versus like, what? I've never heard of that. Wait, there was a group of people that might have controlled governments, and they never brought this up in school. It seems I don't know, maybe there's something to that. Maybe we, like, if they started teaching kids about secret societies in school, it would make them even more secret. Because it's like if you leave a complete vacuum, then someone's going to want to fill that vacuum with some kind of an explanation. But if you can plant a crappy little milquetoast explanation to fill that vacuum, then you kind of resist anyone coming up with like more fanciful or accurate, things to fill that in.
Yeah, I know that the social studies and all that's to omit certain aspects of reality using the social studies textbook. So them not putting stuff in there deliberately is a way to control the minds.
So that's it, man. This has been a heavy hitter episode. We talked about reptilians, Bigfoot, the Illuminati, Juggalos, Chan, angels, demons, summoning demons, spirituality, atheism, nihilism. The only thing we didn't get into was AI, but I feel like we should do another show coming up soon and just talk about that in like one particular subject. So Donut, can I get a whoop whoop?
Woo woo! It's Donut. You tune into all your paranoid news.
What's on the horizon for Donut in 2024, man? Is there any big projects or
huge? Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be huge. Yeah, it's going to be huge. We're going to have the Illuminati PDF, you know what I'm saying? Paranoid American Doenut. It's going to be amazing. That's going to kick off pretty much the new year. We're talking movies. We're talking podcasts. We're talking band YouTube channels. I mean, it's going to go hard.
And honestly, I really do. I'm looking forward to this Illuminati pamphlet because once the artwork's done for the pamphlet itself, we were talking before we started recording that the ultimate goal is to make like an awesome little animation. I'm not going to say what we're going to do with the animation yet. We got big plans for it. But the animation hopefully could come on the tail end of this project that I'm going to be doing with Sam Tripoli, because he also wants to take this Chaos Twins comic we've been working on and turn that into an animation. So I'm hoping to just dovetail as many other projects into like whatever I can learn through this pipeline. Because if I can establish connections with, you know, animators again and, you know, illustrators and just like the entire production aspect of that, like it would be awesome to just roll it right into an Illuminati pamphlet and then whatever pamphlet comes after that. So I hope everybody is as even a tenth of excited as me and Doenut are about the Illuminati pamphlet. We've been working on it for months, and it's gonna be a heavy hitter. Like it's gonna take every thick $100 book you've ever seen on the Illuminati and boil it down into a little pamphlet with pictures, and you're gonna love it. So, all right, one final woo woo, and then I'm gonna show a little ad for Chaos Twins. Woo woo.
Whoa, whoa.
Dive into a realm where comedy meets cosmic adventure. Chaos Twins, created by comedian Sam Tripoli and comic publisher Paranoid American, will sweep you off your feet. Join two girls with the astonishing ability to morph into animals, rally with their cryptid crew, and traverse diverse dimensions. But you don't have to take my word for it. Sign up now at chaostwins.com. In a place as curious as Crown City, adventure awaits at every turn. Meet Anna and Becca, two spirited souls navigating a world filled with wonders and weirdness. Alongside their trusted allies, Biggie, Mathilda, and the Chupacabros, they'll stand against aliens, reptilians, and mysteries beyond imagination. Dive into their captivating tales and discover a world where anything is possible. For more information, visit chaostwins.com, samtripoli.com, and paranoidamerican.com.